There was always someone to fill my cup. For those that I've done wrong, for those that I've known for oh so long, I'll always hold a place in my heart for you.
So, just a little bit about the podcast, and I don't know if you caught it or not, but it's based around now. It's based around people and their grief, their losses.
Mhm.
People come
Right.
on, they share their stories, and it's a great way for the audience to get an idea of what that looks like, to normalize the
Mhm.
conversations that we should be having as men and women. Right? We used to be
Mhm.
focused primarily on men. It was a way
Right.
for me to reach men and go, hey, look, you're not the only one. You're not by yourself, and there are other men out there that are going through the same things. And this is what that grief looks like. And so it was a great way to connect with them, a great way to open up the doors for us to have those hard conversations and put it out there to the world, so the world, especially women, can see what men go through, because it's such a huge misunderstanding of what grief looks like to a man. We don't look like what men go through. Women talk,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Men, we go out and break things. And a
Right.
lot of times what ends up happening is that what the grief looks like is total destruction to a man, from another perspective. It looks like
Right.
addiction. It looks like angerness, irritability, frustration, depression. It looks like homelessness. It looks like all
Mhm.
of these different things when you compile it in and then go, I get it now.
Right.
So that was what the podcast is based around and everything like that. And I started it just over a year ago. We've been on a few-month hiatus, getting together season 3. So this is going to be a part of season 3 going out. And
Right.
so yeah, and then like I said, it's based around my nonprofit, my
Mhm.
own struggles, and then the things that it took for me to come back and reclaim my manhood as a different man, and not like different, but different in a way of where there was a huge misunderstanding that I
Right.
didn't even recognize. And
Right.
coming to that realization, it was just going, okay, people need to see this and everything.
Right.
And like I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah. There's.
yeah. And so I'm gonna hand it over to you. That way, yeah, tell me
Yeah.
about
No. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely. Men suppress it.
it.
And some men don't outlash. They introvert. They take it in within themselves,
Yeah.
and it's suppressed. And then it's like a boiling pot. Some way, somehow, there's going to be a bystander or something in the way that's going to be the recipient when of all that suppression. So I totally understand, and I
Mhm.
thank you again for sharing. So a little bit about me is, I was born in a war-torn drug zone era at its prime during the cartel in Colombia, South America, and my parents had to give me up for adoption, for they were unable to care for themselves, let alone myself. And I was welcomed in open arms to come to America at 11 pounds at 11 months. That's a pound per month. And my American family took me in. And when I was 7 years old, they sent the message that notified me that I was adopted. And they would do anything it takes and whatever it took when ready to find my parents. Now, for me, they said it was a treasure for them. For me, it was a tragedy. I have no medical records, no photographs of what my family looks like or sounds like, or even any of their traits or attributes. And so for me, I lost my identity. And that made me struggle throughout the years going forward for being a victim of every type of abuse, being victim of bullying, and not feeling comfortable in a relationship. And when I found that I wasn't able to love myself, how could I love, if my parents didn't love me, how could I love someone else? And I didn't have a sense of identity. And then everything, my world crumbled in 2007 when I lost my mother. My mother and I were inseparable. She instilled me, and I still remember this in every single day. She said, Andrea, no matter what you do what you love, do your best, and do it right. And that resounds in my ear today. And when you put all your feelings, emotions, trust, and pour your heart out to one individual, and then you lose that individual, you're a skeleton of a human, and you have limited emotions, limited abilities. You feel paralyzed because your heart is broken, let alone taken. And for 2 years after that, I have isolated myself from my husband, my father, my brother, and my family. I would drive over an hour one way just to her gravesite. I lost 2 years of my life because I was looking for something that was right here. And when I realized after 2 years I was wasting time, I was wasting my life, not taking care of myself as she would want me to, was when I found love within myself. And I was able to live and build a legacy of love through her, for she had the power of unconditional love. She was a woman of selflessness, generosity, genuinity, acted always with integrity, and was always loving. And when I lost her, I lost a sense of myself, because a few years prior, I remember lying on the couch with my grandmother, with her, and my grandmother fell ill. And she was home to her resting place at our home. And I remember holding my mother. We were all lying on the couch. And I said to her, I just hope I'm as good a daughter as you are to her. And the next morning she had passed. And I still think to this day, am I doing a good job? You doubt yourself when you put all your pennies in one container.
Right.
Because then you realize, are you good enough? Am I making her proud? Am I living a life of abundance? And am I able to pay it forward? And so I was able to find love once again, once I realized she was closer more than ever. She was in my heart. Her morals, ethics, and values resound in what I do. And the love that my father has for us and our son is unconditional, a representation of how she loved us. And I had to figure out how to be a mother without a mother. And subconsciously, here I was again, abandoned twice. One of a mother I never knew, who gave me life, and another of a woman who raised me and gave me a second chance. And to this day, I still look up and I look around and I feel her embrace. I see her through our son's eyes. I see the love that was just immeasurable, not a backbone in her body. But I see the heartache it takes on my father. I see the heartache it takes on my brother. And I see the faith that she empowered in my husband to pursue his dream. When you have someone that powerful in your life taken from you, you either can thrive or you just survive. In the beginning, I was just surviving with grief, anger, frustration. How could you take another mother from me?
Right.
And then I turned my anger into love and said, I'm grateful for the moments I've shared and the memories that were made. And no matter what I do going forward, everything matters. And I'm going to live my life of love and pay it forward with my message and mission of meeting your fullest potential.
I find that amazing because I can relate to losing a mother. You know, the person who gave birth to me, the person who tried to teach me how to be a young man. You know, and it wasn't until I got older, you know, like my mom wasn't perfect, but she was a good person. She had a good heart, you know, she lived within her gift. And it was something so minute. It was that her gift, she could take anybody, grown or a child, put you on her lap and primarily put you to sleep. You know, she was like a beacon for that. Most kids that saw my mom, it didn't matter if they had just met her or they known her for years, you know. Most kids, my mom was the neighborhood. She was like the woman that you wanted to bring your kid to when they was acting up. They put them on the lap and your butt was out, right? Even as a grown man, when I would go back home to visit my mom, you know, and I'm going through a bad way. Now, I'm 6'4", 285 pounds.
Right.
My mom was 6'4", but she was around 240 pounds,
Right.
only because she was tall and she was very athletic. And she
Right.
would go, boy, come here, come sit on my lap. And I go sit on her lap and she start rocking. Next thing you know, I'm waking up in bed with a cover on me. I'm like, Mom, I'm 285. How did you
Right.
get me into bed? She was like, you don't need to know all of that. I'm like, no,
Right.
you dropped
Where
me.
there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, I used to always tell her, you dropped me, didn't you? There's something not right up here with me. You dropped me when you was trying to put me in the bed. Wasn't you like fighting?
Right.
You just wake me up, right?
Right. Right.
And so that my mom was my best friend, aside from my
Yeah.
sister. My mom was, she was
Yeah.
the one, if I ever had a problem,
Yep.
I can run to her,
Absolutely. Yes.
and she was just an amazing person, and I think back on my childhood, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst neither.
Right.
We all have our own ways of doing
Stories.
things, especially as a child, children, well, our job is to test the parents.
Right.
The parents' job is to make sure that we stop testing them. So my mom made sure, like,
Right.
hey, boy, you might want to stop testing them and knock you out. And I'm like, but I just want to touch things, so I'm touching everything.
Right.
It's just like, boy,
Yeah.
keep it up. I'm gonna do something bad. I'm like, you're not gonna do nothing bad to me,
Right.
And I needless to say, I got a lot of butt whippings when I was a kid,
Right.
and
Likewise.
hard-headed, having a little
Yeah.
sister that every time my mom would turn her head, I would push her into something, I would beat her up and all kinds of things, right? And moms
Yeah.
just shake her hands and think, you can't do that. So all of these different beautiful lessons that my mother taught me. When I got older, sad to say, I had to go back in and relearn those lessons, but from a different perspective. And it was nothing against my mother. It was just that, okay, my mom is teaching me to try to be a better man, but she's a woman.
Right. Absolutely.
And so a lot of things that I learned when I was a kid and growing up, even as becoming an adult, I realized that she only taught me what she knew from her perspective, right? And so when she passed away, I was like, man, what do I do now? Oh man, like, I don't know. And so for a very long time, after my mom passed away 2 years after my son, 2 years, 1 month after my son passed away.
Sorry.
And all of those lessons, that she had taught me, I went out the window when that happened. And I isolated hard. I was 2 years, I didn't even want to see people. I didn't want to be around anyone. And I felt that I was doing the right thing, right? Because as a man, you're like, I don't want to be around anybody because they may think that I'm weak or vulnerable and all of these things. And I didn't want anyone to have a different perception of who I was. And I suppressed it. I pushed it down so hard, and eventually it started manifesting itself in a more physical way.
Yeah.
Like I was never into drugs or anything like that. My addiction was working out. And just like, I know when I say that, you're like, you may think to yourself, well, that's not a bad addiction to have, right?
But it can be.
Yeah, but I was very mischievous. I didn't look out for myself the way I was supposed to. After that happened, my addiction turned into this obsession to see if I can hurt myself. I'm a former bodybuilder, so I was like, okay, let's lift some heavy weights. And the pain that I was going through and experiencing from the multiple losses, that was my starting and ending point. My goal was to say, you know what, can I hurt myself more than what I'm hurting right now?
Right.
And after losing a child, it was like, no, I couldn't. But that answer didn't come till later on down the line, like, no, I can't. Now, like now I'm 300 pounds. I'm benching almost 600 pounds. I'm doing all these things. I'm looking good on the physical aspect, but inside I was
torn apart, destroyed.
Everything inside of me was torn. I was like somebody took a hot pokey and just put it inside of me and just twirled it around. And I'm trying to navigate this thing as a man in this world. And I realized there was a lot of things that I did not know. I just didn't, right? All I had was the memories and everything like that. And I was like, okay, I need to hold on to something before the inevitable happens. Unfortunately, I didn't find that one thing to hold on to until I had already, until I had already planned out my suicide. And I remember that night, talking to my dad and talking to my mom and my sister, and well, my mom, my son, and my little brother, and everyone who's already gone, and it's a lot of people. And I just went, hopefully you can forgive me for what I'm about to do. And this had been about 2 months into planning out that suicide, and I did it in front of people and no one knew. And I was going, okay, now I get it. The reason why this happens is because, for one, you don't know what it looks like to me. You don't know what this grief looks, and I didn't even know what grief was, and so, but I can say it now. They didn't know what my grief looks like, or looked like. They didn't know that I was capable of feeling these things because I suppressed this so much. Everybody just thought I was okay. And I was okay with them thinking I was okay. Yeah, I was okay with that, right? Because I was like, as long as you think that I'm okay, you're not going to try to stop me. And I'm not going to say a word because this is done. I had lost everything. I mean, I'm bouncing around on people's couches. This was just a few years ago, right before I started my nonprofit and the podcast. I'm bouncing around on people's couches. I'm, here and there. I'm sleeping in my car here and there. I'm sleeping in and out of motels. Like, I struggled hard. I struggled so hard. And I got bill collectors calling me because they want money that I don't have. I got other people, I have a vehicle at the time. And what I didn't know is that they came in repossessed and saying that I was a month behind. I was like, that's the one thing that I kept on top of. So another blow, right? Boom, there it is. And now I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just done. And I planned out a weekend, and I was working at the time. I took off on that weekend. I went out to Moab Desert out in Utah, out in the middle of nowhere. And that's what I was going to do. No one knew I was there, right? And I was comfortable with that. That Friday when I got out to Utah, went fishing, and I'm just asking for my family to forgive me for my decision that I'm about to make, and hopefully that they understand. And I'm thinking to myself, like, my friends will understand. They've seen everything I've gone through. Like, I didn't live a life that most people would ask for. I had to play the cards, and I didn't understand that, right? And I figured, okay, now I got this card over here. I'm afraid to turn it over because I see what the rest of the deck looks like, right? I'm like, man, this is about to be a crash and burn. I'm not going to flip over this card. That night, I flipped over the card. That night, when I was about ready to take my own life, I flipped over the last card, and I was going, I get it now. That card revealed everything else to me. It revealed the hand. And then I realized I could take the hand, I could put cards out, and I could replace those cards, right? Which happens to be my life. I can replace these things. I can't change what has happened, but what I can do is make sure that this last card that I flipped over, that I didn't think that meant anything. I thought it was going to be like the rest of the cards. I thought it was going to bust my hand. It actually was the starting point of me taking a hand, turn it around, replacing those cards, and putting everything back in order. And I went, wow, I'm onto something here, right? And I'm not a very religious person. I do believe in God. I just don't believe in the religion aspect of it. I believe that is something that separates us. And so I remember when I was a kid, my mother told me, she goes, baby boy, she goes, just because an individual do not look like you does not make them less than a human being. Your job is to treat everybody like a human being, like you would want somebody to treat you. So taking those words in, after that moment, that thing clicked, that light clicked on. And I knew from that moment, with everything else that I've learned, that I was going to be okay. I knew it from that, but didn't know how, right? And I knew exactly why I was put here on earth. I was going, after this whole time, struggling with my identity, my purpose, because I have nothing, right? It's just me now. Now I know why I'm here. And as crazy as it sounds, because it sounded crazy to me, right? And I was like, so you want me to do what? You want me to help men that's been in a situation that, are you crazy? So this is my conversation with God. Like, are you crazy, man? Like, you do realize what you're asking me. The hardest thing that a man can ever do is open up and talk. Then you want me to do what? I'm just like, oh no, you got the wrong person, right? And I can hear my mom in the background like, boy, it's something wrong with you. I didn't drop you in your head when you late. Mama, this is between me and God. You just stay out of this for a minute, right? And my mom goes, see, here you go again. You don't ever listen to nobody. And then I can hear my grandmother's in the background. Boy, listen to somebody before you get popped upside the head. The famous saying my mom used to always tell me was like, boy, I'm going to smack the black out of you. I'm like, but mama, that's a hard hit. I'm not quite sure if you're capable of doing that. But, okay. I mean, if that's what you feel you need to do. Right. Right. So those are my conversations and getting to where I am now and being able to collect people's stories and put them out there and help other people see that these conversations are what you're going through are very normal, and the conversations that we need to have they need to be had on both sides. And I'm just trying to fill in the gap. I'm just trying to do my part to bring more awareness for the men in other people's lives. So when they listen to the story, they can go, oh man, this sounds like my brother, or this sounds like my uncle, or this sounds like my cousin, or whatever, right? They're just the men in their family. But also it was a way for other men to come back and say, man, that sounds a lot like me. I wonder what else am I missing out on? And so I started doing these beautiful support groups, and we struggled with that for a long time because trying to get men to come to a support group, they're like, I'm not into the whole group scene, but I'm up for a phone call,
Right. And it's funny because the women are opposite. The women will go all in a group, but they won't do individual. And it's like, really?
I tell these men and I tell the women too, I'm like, you know what? Why can you guys teach us a little bit better about what's going on with you? Maybe we can learn how to talk. And now you mad because I don't want to talk. Well, you spent a very long time telling us what a man is supposed to be. Right. And now you're mad because we're living up to that expectation of what you taught me that a man is supposed to be. Give us a break here. So now
women have great expectations, and it's just they're never satisfied. The woman is never satisfied. And as a woman, I can tell you that wholeheartedly. I totally agree. I God bless my son, my husband, because like I said, now it's just me. You know what I mean? And my support is my father, my brother, my son. And it's like, okay, there's no female energy here anymore, and then it's just like, all right, but I was raised, when I was growing up, I had all guy cousins, so I understood it. And and for me to be vulnerable, for me to share my feelings was not really received well, because I was always playing football or baseball with the guys, with my cousins. But then when you experience heartache and heartbreak, it's kind of like when you're not ready to experience that, how do you share it without? For me, it was a difficulty of first of all, burdening someone else.
Right.
Then it's like, well, do I even want to go there of the vulnerability component and pride? Mm-hmm. And then once I go there, is there going to be a solution at the end of the tunnel? What are the strategies? What are the coping techniques?
Yeah, isn't that the hardest thing? Trying to think so far ahead of is there a solution at the end of this? Right? Is there a solution? I don't know. Right. I don't know. I'm still trying to work on getting to the end of it, right? But I'm enjoying the middle part of getting there. I fell in love with the process of becoming. Maybe there is no end. Maybe there's just a bunch of lessons, right? That we can implement and being able to share with other people. And I look at it that way. I'm going, okay, I know that my grief is going to be a part of me. It's going to be a part of me for the rest of my life. Hell, here's the reminder. I'm the last of my generation, right? I'm the last of my bloodline. So when I'm gone, guess what? I'm going to be gone too. My bloodline is done. So is there an end? No, there's definitely no end. It's the process of becoming. It's the process of living those moments, right? not being overwhelmed about those moments and making different decisions for future moments, because that moment is already past. It took me a long time that, oh man, these moments have already passed. Let me go back in, let me take my grief with me so my grief can guide me.
Right.
You know,
Right.
my grief is going to help me pick this thing apart because it's part of my healing. I didn't even know what healing was. I never knew what it looked like, right? You know, as a man,
Right.
oh, you gotta go through these things in order to heal.
Yeah.
Healing is painful. And I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever been around a man when we got a cold. We don't handle that very well. We don't handle, we like babies in a blanket. No, he caught him, you know, wrap it
Yeah.
tighter, you know.
Fetal position, in the
Right, you
fetal
know.
position with the baby talk. Oh, my husband's been cold a few times in our marriage. And I'm just like, really? And he's 6'2". So I'm just like, come on, man. Like,
Hey,
man up, suck it up,
you know
but
what? See, that word right there, see, right there. I try to, when I hear it, I go, see, and that's how men got to where we are.
Yeah.
Everybody telling us to suck it up, man up,
Yeah.
put your head back, don't cry, you know.
Right.
Hey, suck it up, buttercup. Like, hold on, I don't even like buttercups. I don't,
Yeah.
right? You know, so
Yeah.
it's like, man, you know, so now, you know, and I heard this from women who have raised young men that, you know, they have to go back, they oftentimes go back and apologize to their male counterparts or their sons and, you know, or their brothers and things like that. And brothers have to do the same thing, because I know for me, my little sister was my baby, but I knew I wasn't going to be around. So my sister got beat up a lot. She really did. And, you know, it developed a sense of survivalness with her. And then once we got older, you know, we're in our 40s now. And this is just recent. My sister goes, man, I hated you for the longest time. I go, okay. You ain't telling me nothing I wasn't already expecting. Like, did I expect my little sister? Yes, I did, because I had left when I was 15, and my sister didn't really get the chance to be around me till I was already in my 40s. You know, we had seen each other throughout the different versions of who we were at that time in our lives, because I would go back home and visit my family, then I would come back to Colorado, and then I'll wait a few years, some, you know, if that, you know, if not longer, you know, and go back home and see him. So they always saw a different version of me.
Right. And you were calling the shot on your terms, you know. And also with that regard, I definitely understand, because, you know, I have, I think, 2 or 3 videos that I've done about empowering men. We put them on this pedestal of warriors and fighters and, you know, as heroes, and in all respect, yes, but at the same token, there's a human being under those shields of honor. And to set them up, you know, and no, not at all. Society even puts it that it's a patriarchal society. It's divide and conquer, power over others. And that's farthest from the truth of what men go through, you know. And it's just, you know, I really empathize in having our son, you know. I'm just like, oh my goodness, here I am. You know, my husband grew up with 4 sisters. So he has the, you know, he has the nurturance, and I grew up around all males, and I have limited nurturance. It's a hard pill for me to share. It's a hard pill for me to swallow, to love somebody, because every time I love somebody, I lost somebody. And I was just like, how do I stay at bay? But at the same token, I'm a mother. I need to be there for my son. I need to empower him that it's okay to cry. It's okay to stick up for yourself. It's okay to be, you know, vulnerable. That's a sign of strength, not weakness. You know, and it's just been really rough. And I lost a friend about a year ago, and you know, he was in a rough place, and I still bang my head against the wall. I spoke to him frequently, trying to help him. And the one day I missed was because I was out with my husband and our son on Father's Day, and I missed that day. And then a few days later, and I was just like, you got to be kidding me, you know. And life is so precious and short, and until we allow ourselves to heal, go through the grieving process, there's so many stages, and we just think of it as maybe 2 stages. Get over it. Like after my mom passed, I distanced myself, isolated myself, and then I hid myself behind my work. And then in 2015 or 16, I can't recall, I remember going into the hospital, and I was having difficulty breathing. I'm like, this is weird. Why am I having difficulty breathing? Make a long story short, they sent me home. They said everything was fine. There was an oversight. They called me back to the hospital and said, we overlooked one test that we forgot to check. And your reports say that you have myasthenia gravis. Now that's a central nervous system, immune system completely shut down in this terminal. I went back to the hospital. They said, you need to come back. I said, I need to go to work. My husband and my son are already out the door. I need to go. And they're like, no, you really need to come in. I drove there. The doctor sat down with me and explained what the condition was. Next thing I know, I woke up in the ICU unit, incapacitated, unable to use all 4 of my limbs, breathe and eat on my own. I was hooked up to machines. I was like, what just happened? And it was, lo and behold, after a week's stay, my husband said, we need you home. Something's got to give. And I recall looking at the movie The Secret, and there was a medical excerpt, spoiler alert. I remember that my husband and I talked about it. And I said, no, I'm not letting this defeat me. You want to take me now? That's not happening. I'm not ready. And I decided to make the conscious decision that I was going to be discharged the next day. My family needed me, and I needed to be well. And I remember the team coming in the next morning. Okay, Andrea, we're gonna, this is the last test that we're gonna run, and if you're able to do it and keep down foods and breathe on your own will, you can be discharged. If not, until further notice, we are extending your stay. Draped my feet over the bed, jumped down to my petite stature. I walked to the nurses' stations and back. Was able to hold down 2 meals, and I was discharged that day.
Very nice.
But it will take you. You don't know what grief looks like. Everybody thinks it's your hand in your head, fetal position. Not necessarily. Not at all. It's different for everybody. Everybody has a book of life, but it's a different chapter for everyone. People handle it differently.
And this, listening to your story and everything, it's like, wow, so many similarities, right? Only difference is that you're a woman being raised by men, and your husband. Right. So the roles are kind of reversed, right? Your husband is the more sensitive one, and you're the one going, suck it up, man. Like, yes, look at what I had to go through. You suck it up too, right? And so it's pretty interesting to hear you say that, but it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me because I was raised by a woman, right? And when you see those qualities in another woman, and you just go, I get this now. I really do, but that is something that, like you said, grief looks different, and something that needs to change, because since it does look different, what I normally do, because I teach another class, I normally tell the class, be mindful. I teach a mindfulness and trauma class. I go, just be mindful that when you see a person acting out, it's usually the result of unresolved issues, trauma. And Absolutely. Now when we dive into the unresolved issues, then we realize that the grief is just a trigger. Now we got to figure out where they're at in their trauma episode. Yeah, and so meeting people where they are is the hardest thing, because you don't know if they're experiencing an episode of when they were a child. You don't know if they're experiencing an episode from when they were an adult, because those things don't have no timeline of when it comes back, right? It just picks a moment and go, hey, I know you're in the middle of a carnivore, but wow, there you go. Then you find yourself trying to hold yourself in right around everybody. Absolutely. Like, oh my God, I'm flipping out, which is the cause of your anxiety, because now you're trying to figure out which way can I go? Right. To keep people from seeing I got to hold it in. Right. Yeah. I got to hold it in. And
that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, you're so angry all the time. You're so frustrated. Why are you serious all the time? Because if I get emotional, I'm gonna fold.
Yeah.
And I need to be the strong one, since my mother had passed amongst all of us, because she was the fist. And then when she had passed, everybody was just like, now what? Now what do we do? Everybody was kind of like enabled and trying to figure out what's the next step.
Right.
So yeah, it's
So let's,
grief doesn't have a defined, grief doesn't have a specific definition.
it really
It's
don't.
different everywhere. So.
It's just, it should have a huge question mark up there. There should be no definition there. It's whatever it looks like to you, right? Because it's
and
so
it's different for
individual.
everyone.
Right, it's different
Yes.
for everyone. It's so individual. Like there was a quote I was reading that says that grief is like a snowflake, right? Everyone is going to be different. So you know, when you think about that, right, and think about what that grief looks like, the many levels of it, right? And then you put down all of those many levels inside of one individual, right? Because you don't know what that person's life has been like. You don't know the journey or the travels that they've gone down to experience life. You know, they're having a human experience in this life. And that experience can go wherever which way it wants to. And it wasn't until, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it's not until people realize that, you know, since this is mine, it's going to look like whatever I want it to look like. In the midst of all of this mess, all of this, you know, misunderstanding, all of this confusion, it's going to look like whatever I want it to look like, because now I have something that I didn't expect. I have a curious mind to explore that and seeing what is there to give me, and coming out the other side. You know, I'm like really just not coming out the other side, but walking through it. I was able to sit down. I don't know if you ever remember this movie. It's I want to say Harry Potter, and it could be related to that, right? You know, like you sit down, and there was and I could get the movies wrong, so if I do, forgive me. Please don't quote me.
No,
it's like,
I'm the same way.
Yeah, it's like sitting down, right? Sitting down in your grief, and you're looking around, and it's like this big old huge tornado of a mess. Everything's just flying around you, you know, and you're just sitting there in the middle of it, right? You don't know which you're going to get hit with next. You know, you just know that it's around you, and the flight or flight kick in, and you sometimes you're frozen in it, and you get to going around, and you're going, oh man, this memory. Oh man, no, there's a kitchen sink. Oh no, there's a tub, right? And you're thinking to yourself, which one of these are going to hit me? Because it's getting closer and closer. And you're just sitting there paralyzed. And deep down inside it's telling you, run from it, right? And a lot of times people will get up and run out the other side instead of just sitting there. What I've developed was, okay, I'm going to sit inside of this. And every time I see something getting close to me, because I've been hit with it before, right? And I know I didn't like that. I know I don't like being hit with my own stuff, because now I have to go back in and go, oh man, you mean telling me this happened to me as well? Oh, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this. So instead of doing that, instead of getting upset, I was in the moment with it. And I started realizing that the things that I was being hit with were the lessons that I needed. They were the tools that I needed in order to start that process.
They'll keep hitting you until you get it.
Yeah, you know, I don't like that. You get hit with you know what it feels like, they hit with the proverbial sink. Like, no, who took that out the wall? Leave that in the wall. It has water. Let that be for someone else. And it was just like, no, you don't understand. This is your sink. Oh, you don't want it? Pow, I'm gonna knock you with it. And I'm like, okay, look, I'm gonna sit here and play with the knobs on the sink for a little bit. I don't know what else to do, right?
And that's so powerful. What you said is just, it really, as you're speaking, Tony, it's just like, if we can just allow, I don't even know if it could be taught, but if we can just get individuals to the point, face your past, embrace the future, but be present. Like, you don't have to plan the rest of your life out.
Right.
You know, like several quotes from The Secret. You only need to see 200 yards in front of you. That's all. Step 1 and step 2.
Yep.
That's all your headlights need to see. They don't need to see the whole picture, because if you see the whole picture, you're not focused on where you're stepping. And I think that's very powerful. And I think that's definitely a nugget from all of them in our conversation that I'm really going to hone into myself. I don't need to know what the ending is right now because I'm not there.
No.
Because I'm going to miss the journey. I'm going to miss the present, which is a gift. And it's funny how words are spells, wisdom, or weapons. Present. We need to be present.
Now let's talk about the work that you do, and
Okay.
everything. So let's dive into that. Tell people tell people about your work. I think
Yes.
it's fascinating. I didn't want to give away too much as we were talking.
No
I was just like,
problem.
you know what?
No
Let's
problem.
just go with it. Let's just go with it, man.
All
let's
good.
talk about that.
So I am a personal accountability coach, and I've developed a life transformational journey called Press Play on Life According to You. And as I have mentioned before, I wanted to have fun in life, but the trials and tribulations and obstacles I faced were difficult. And I would escape to those fun events or activities because I was good at it. I would divert all my energy into being a soccer player, all my energy into, being writing music, or, writing poetry. And that was my safe haven because that was my skill set. But then when I realized, you know what, I can make a choice. I can either play the game or be sidelined or redshirted. And so when I came up with the course, the transformational journey called Play, I realized I have so many skills and talents and gifts, and I've had so many failures, losses, and tragedies, that if I can take everything up until a certain point, and like you said, adapt it and attribute it to how I can help others, that's going to be amazing, because it's my own. It's of authentic nature. It's of integrity. And the best way to effectively communicate and listen to someone is by listening and learning with love. No dictation, no judgment, no filter, no template. You listen to understand a person, and you listen to learn, and you speak to solve. And through the healing process of forgiveness, each and every one of us is a name somewhere, somehow, on a therapeutic couch. Either we hurt someone or we've gotten hurt by someone. And one of the misconceptions is to forgive is to forget. Absolutely not. I don't say forgive to forget. I say forgive to move forward. Because we are the only human beings and creatures on this planet that live in the past and take forever to learn. You see an animal and they see a wet spot, they tap their paw on it, they retract it, and they go around it, and they know they're not going to do that again. But we constantly critique, self-doubt, and punish ourselves for our own false beliefs, incidences, and being victims of an abuse or neglect or anything of that nature. And when I connect with people, I learn about them. Let's get to the root cause. Let's see where you want to be. I bridge the gap from where you are to where you need to be. But first, we have to understand where you've been. And we have to understand what you're going through. And through confidentiality, transparency, and honesty, that's the best way.
Yes.
Because unless you learn and are accepting of who you are, who you want to be, and who you're going to become, nobody else is going to change you. And nobody else is going to make the right choice. I don't know what it's like to walk into Tony's life to this morning to know if he stubbed his toe, banged his knee, was late, hit traffic, spilled his coffee, or whatever. That's not for me. That's not for me to do.
Right.
I say, okay, Tony, what are the areas that you need to improve upon? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And if you're ready, I'll walk right beside you. We'll make it measurable, matter, and meaningful. And that's what I do as accountability coach. I don't lecture or dictate. I listen and learn and love. And together, I'm just your counterpart, embracing the journey and keeping you on the path less chosen, towards achieving personal freedom and making the right decisions.
See, I could have used an accountability coach. I really could have.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, you know, I'm like, wow, you know, I'm like, well, where was you at when I need? They're like, you know, I had to, and it's funny because listening to it, it's like, wow, we both had to become our own coaches. We had to hold ourselves accountable for our actions. And I don't know about you, but every time after I started realizing that, if I made a wrong turn, it would redirect me right back into where I was at. It was going, no, go back to where you was at. You was on the right path. I'm going, but that over there looks a lot better than what I'm walking in over here. I'm like, no. So I had to start holding myself accountable when they, you know, and I tell people, you know, for the longest time, I was in a spiritual fight. I was in spiritual warfare. A fight that I thought that I was going to be able to win because I thought I was strong enough to do it. Didn't realize that I didn't hold nothing to what I was going to, right? That, and then I realized that the fight wasn't mine. And it took me a long time to do that. And it was like, you know, okay, I'm accountable for this over here. I'm accountable for my own actions. I'm accountable for the direction that I've allowed myself to go in. But I appreciate it because the direction that I went in had so much more to give me than if when I was younger, before I left home, I had taken the ASVAB and I passed and I was going into the military, you know, and I was going, it was so much different from going into that military, you know, and the direction that it took me was very unconventional. 15 years old, I leave home, I ditch out on the military, like, no, I'm not going there. I don't like this. I don't like authority. You're not going to tell me what to do, right? I'm not going to go to another land to fight a fight when there's a war going on here in the United States, you know, in our own backyards. And it's going on with our kids and stuff, right? So look, I started along that path, you know, left home. By the age of 17, I was in Colorado. By the time I was 24, I was going to prison for 5 years. And then, you know, being homeless and losing the majority of my friends because of the choices that we made and the lifestyle that we lived, you know, I was gangbanger for over 20 years. And so experiencing that, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm a human being having a life experience. So I'm watching people die and never understood why, you know, I'm feeling this sort of way. The flight kicks in and I just know I got to get away. So the running joke is, I always tell people, I've been grieving since I was 6 years old. And it wasn't until I was 44, 45, till I realized that I was actually grieving. Then I went, well, what is this grief stuff? Right? What is this stuff here? Like,
they don't talk about it.
Right. No one talks about it, right? Like, no, I'm not about to do that. But then I realized that for a majority of my life, I realized that the relationships that I've had, my friendships and things that I had, people that I walked away from, because it was easier for me to move away from people than to try to explain what I was going through. I was tired of the betrayal. I was tired of the you know, the heartache. I was tired of, you know, being not understanding. I just knew that there's this thing pulling me away. So I isolated. I isolated for a very long time, for years and years and years, you know, until one day I'm in my 30s, you know, I'm just getting out of prison. And I was 29 at the time and I have no family, right? So now I'm homeless again for like the 10th time. I'm homeless again. I'm going, I can't make this stuff up, right? I don't even know what it's like to be in a home, right? And then I was fortunate. I met a guy and got into my first ever place to where I can go home and put a key in the door and, you know, I can decorate this place. It's mine, right? But then there was always this thing deep down inside, like, no, it's not mine. Yeah, I'm paying this guy to live here, but it's not mine. I can't mess up the walls. You know, I'm not going to get a whole lot of stuff because this person can come back and tell me I have to leave at any given time and I have to comply. So always in the back of my mind, I'm making sure that the bills are paid on time. I'm making sure this man got his money every month, right? He was a good friend of mine, you know, and it was like, that was my mindset. I always had a bag ready to go just in case if that man came back and said, hey, I know you've been here for a while, you've been a great tenant, but I think I want my house back, right? I think I want my house back. I ain't
You
nothing
were
I can
living
do.
life on other people's terms.
Right. I'm living life on other people's terms. And I was going, I don't like this feeling because I've had so much taken away from me. And nothing has ever been, at least in that mindset, nothing has ever been given back to me. It was always, hey, I see you doing good, and I'm going to take that away from you. And there's nothing that you could do about it. So I'm helpless, defenseless in this life. And I'm going, if I start fighting back, you're not going to like it. Right? That's what I'm telling God. That's what I'm telling the world. That's what I'm telling the universe. If I start fighting back, you're not going to like it. So please just let me have this. I don't have anything. And then I meet my son's mom. And when I was the age of 32, my son was born when I was 33, and my father passed away. And 3 months after that, my brother passed away, right? My younger brother. And I'm going, holy crap, now here I am, I have this newborn baby boy. He was born 7 days before Christmas. I'm like, okay, that's a gift. That's a win. He's my Christmas baby, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that over a course of time, he was going to be the source of me, right? Of me and who I was becoming, because I didn't know how to be a man. Definitely didn't know how to be a father. You can ask my 2 girls about that. They'll tell you, like, I didn't even know who this man was till I was already in my 30s, right? And I often have to tell people, they go, well, what happened? I go, my life never permitted me to be that father. It never permitted me to be a better man. It permitted me to be who I am today. Whether that makes sense or not, my choices not to be a part of my daughter's lives was something that came very, very hard, because I knew that if I tried to drag them into my life at that moment, I was going to get them killed, let alone my own self, right? And it's hard enough for me to try to survive in this mess. Why would I do this to another child? So as painful as it is, I don't regret.
It was the right decision at that time.
It's the right decision, right? And I don't regret that decision, because I met my oldest daughter some years ago at a family reunion. She's beautiful, beautiful. Now, mind you, I hadn't seen her since she was 6 months old. And here this beautiful young grown lady. And I don't even know how to approach the situation, because I never thought I would see her again. I thought I was going to be dead long before that. Now, the crazy part about this is that after I met her, Corona hit. And I wanted to stay in contact with her, and I never did, because of the simple fact of my life took a really nasty turn yet again. And I was going, man, I can't talk to my daughter going through all of this. She's not trying to hear all of my complaints and all my problems. I'm homeless. Do something about it, Tony. And I remember
kind of like they're dangling the beat in front of you, and then just be like, nope, you don't deserve it yet. Until you straighten up, you don't deserve it. But this is what it could be,
right? Yeah. And that's what it was like. It was like somebody, like, I love gummy worms. So it's like somebody dangling a bag of gummy worms in front of me going, oh, Tony, you could have it, but you're going to have to do this for it.
You have to work for it. You have to change. Right.
I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm 6'4". I got arms. I can reach that. You don't understand.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they would pull it away and laugh at me. I'm going, you know what? Eventually, I'm going to figure out who's holding that stick. I'm going to take the stick, take the gummy worms off. I'm going to beat you with the stick, because now my mouth is watering because I want the gummy worms, right?
Right. Exactly.
That's a hell of an analogy when you put it that way, right? But it makes perfect sense, right? It's like, oh man, the worms were, the temptation was my daughter. I wanted to get the Noor, and then when Corona hit, it was like, man, and everything else started going downhill. I was going, you know what? This is my decision. I am going to live life, but I'm also going to die on my terms, and no one can take that away from me. And it was like, you know what? No matter what you do to me, my decision is mine. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to plan this thing out. I am going to take my life, because I was angry. I was angry with God. I was angry with the world. I was angry with everyone. Friends who have left me, friends who were there because I didn't understand why they were still there. Leave. You don't want to see me going through this. And it was like, okay, you don't have to give me what I want. That just means that I don't have to live the life that you say that I have to live. I don't have to wait till I'm old to end this. This can stop for me at any time. but
Right.
there was a side of me that was afraid.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
if I do this, I've always been taught that this is going to happen. And then I just made up my mind. I was like, whatever happens, happens. I don't even care anymore. And
And that's when it's most fearful, when you don't care. Because I've hit that point, because I was always finding, I mean, the only analogy I can make, and I like pizza, but not a fan, is always finding that eighth slice.
Yeah.
Trying to fill that void that I've been dealing with. And as soon as I'll go 2 steps forward, but I'll be darned, it's 10 steps back, because Andrea, you got to prove to me you wanted that back. How bad are you going to work for it? How bad are you going to take it? And when I hit my collegiate years, I was just like, I hid behind soccer, I hid behind my music, because I was a little bit bigger now, and I was an athlete, so I really didn't get victimized too much. And then when I hit college, I was like, forget all y'all, now I don't care about anybody. But that was probably the scariest time, because when you don't care about anything, watch out.
Oh my God.
Because your decision, your mindset is just like, you'd start doing crazy things, risk behavior. You just have, what else is going to happen? I don't care, because I'm going to do what I want to do regardless of the outcome. And that's when that's when probably my 4 years in college, I was probably scared of myself, because I got to the point where I didn't care. I didn't care anymore.
Oh my God.
And that didn't happen again until after my mother passed. And that was years later. And I was like, no, I'm not going this game again, because now I have a boyfriend. Now I have a husband. Now I have a family. Now my mom's gone. I'm the fist of the family. I got to change that channel immediately, because everyone will feel the wrath once I don't care. And that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I was always either being isolated, one, like you mentioned, you just stay away from people. You know what? I'm going to sabotage it before you sabotage it.
There you go.
That's it. You know what? Let me cut the line before you do.
Yes. I've heard.
Or let me have a backup. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've ruined a lot of relationships doing that.
Me too.
Sabotaging them and things like that. And I've had some good, great, awesome women in my life, right? And first off, I never thought I was good enough, because the caliber of women that I was attracting, I was going, what do you want with me? Right? Like, I don't know what you want with me. You can't fix me. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm not a toy. You can't fix me.
Right.
And secondly, I have nothing. I have absolutely. So what do you truly want from me? Are you going to try to hurt me like the last person? Are you going to betray me like others have done before? I don't trust you.
That's a big thing.
Right.
Trust.
I don't trust you. Right. Because no one ever gave me a reason to trust them. No one ever gave me a reason to want to stay around in their life. Right. So,
and the ones that did, they left. They were gone. They were taken before I could either.
Yeah, the ones that I thought they was going to be there, they were like, when things got tough, they were like, oh my God, this is too much. And I just had to look at them and go, there's the door. Keep going. So I got so used to doing that I never thought that anyone wanted to be a part of that. Now, that's where I made my mistake, because I stopped caring. I stopped caring. I went, you know what? I'm going to be alone the rest of my life. I'm okay with that. So
that's what I said my senior year in college. I said that exact statement. You know what? Fine. I don't need a family. I don't need anybody. I'm going to be a successful businesswoman by myself. I don't need anybody.
I don't need nobody.
But in my heart, I was an infant. And I just needed to be held. I just needed to be nurtured, just for even 1 to 3 seconds.
Yeah. And I did have that. I had a girl one time. She was so sweet. She was beautiful inside and out. Right. And we became friends. And she just wanted to be a part of what Tony was. She wanted to get to know Tony on a level that most people never even dreamed of even stepping into. My problem was that I didn't trust anyone.
And you didn't feel worthy of it.
Right. And the pain in my heart had went numb.
Yeah.
So I really didn't care about nothing. It was like, drinking, let's go drink. I can drink a whole lot. I'm gonna drink everybody on the table and I'm gonna keep drinking. And when the sun comes up, I'm not stopping, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
being drunk was never an option for me. It was like, we're just gonna keep drinking. But then it was, for me, that became it became an addiction that was embedded inside of me that finally manifested itself. And I hated alcohol.
Right.
I really did. I hated alcohol. I didn't like the way it made me feel. Certain alcohols, I get up and now I got this massive hangover. No, I didn't like that at all, right? But then something said,
you didn't have control. That was
I didn't have control, right? So what I did is that, okay, I'm going to drink more till I don't feel it anymore. Right. That's always more is better, right? And then it got to a point to where I can drink 2 18-packs of beer, a thing of tequila, some Jack Daniels, and still sit up here and look at you and have a conversation like this, and you'll never even know that I was drunk. So I was going, oh, I can hide this. I can be a functional alcoholic, and still no one would ever know. And so that path of destruction, man, that path grabbed me. Right. And I was able to hide it from everyone. I was able to not care. I had an excuse for my attitude. I had all of these things that made no sense.
Right.
But they don't make sense to me now. But back then it made perfect sense. And it was
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
The mindset you were in.
Right.
And my husband always says excuses sound best to those who make them, and they only make sense to those who create them.
Right. And it didn't even make sense to me. That was the crazy part. I was like, I don't even know why I do it, right? Like, well, just do it anyway. And
just because.
Yeah, just because. And this good woman is sitting around, and she's just wanting me to let her in. And I remember telling her one day, we had been dating for probably about 6 months, and that was my cue to leave. It was my cue. I always had a rule: 6 months, we got to go. We got to go on our separate ways, because that was. I'm
going to get hurt.
Yeah, you're going to hurt me, right?
Right.
And so before you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. So I would pick senseless arguments, and they go, "This is what you're arguing about?" I'm like, yeah, it means a whole lot to me at that moment. Never even knew why, right? But I don't care. There was bread on the floor. I don't like this over here. There's bread on the floor.
Right.
You know what? I don't think I like the way this is going. Like, this is just too much.
Right. It's your scapegoat.
Yeah, that's my scapegoat, right? So a piece of bread on the floor led to another, 6 months of heartache, self-inflicted wounds. And then that 6 months turned into a year, and that year turned into 2 years. And, that 2 years turned into 4, and so forth and so forth. So there's been many, many years where, I was a scared kid that wanted something and didn't know how to accept what it was trying to give me. And I was going.
And when it was given, you didn't want it.
And then when I got it, it's so foreign to me. I just went, you know what? No, you can take all of that love and carry this. You can take that and you can put up your butt. I don't need.
Go get a dog.
Yeah,
go get a dog or something. Not
right?
me.
And like, if I'm not the one. I'm not the lovable guy. You want to go? You want somebody? And I used to always tell women, I was like, look, I'm not the one.
Yeah.
You're going to ruin your life trying to figure me out. I haven't even got to figure it out. Right. Don't waste your time on me. I am not worth all of that. And they would go, Tony, I have these deep feelings for you. I'm like, yeah, I'm not that guy. Yeah. I don't, and I used to always lie to them. I don't have those feelings for you. Yeah. But we've gone and done this, and I think I know you. Not like, no, you don't know me. You know what I want you to know about me. For the simple fact that if you knew me, you would realize that I'm not the guy to love.
And all of that talk to them is really subconscious talk to us.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because I would always say to them, like, yeah, no, I got to back up. It's all good now. Oh, you want to leave now? Okay, cool. And I just would never date. But I would go home and I would just be like, I don't have anyone. And then my ego would be like, of course not, because you're pushing everyone away. You don't feel deserving of it. And that's what actually, struck a chord with my husband, because I remember 3 months into the relationship, I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. And I don't remember what happened. I think it was like a argument that I started to kind of say, okay, go, you could go now. And I will never forget this moment, Tony. He said, you know what? regardless of whatever happens, I will never forgive anybody who gets between us, because I remember at the 3-month mark, I just divulged everything. And I'm like, you're still here. Why are you still in the car? What's happening? why are you still here? And then that's what he said. He said, regardless of what happens, I'm going to be here. And I remember leaving and, we kissed goodnight, and I was just like, really? I was like, damn. All right.
Right.
All right. I get it. And I remember, because we had met when I was in college, and I went back to school, and he called and everything, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. And I remember that hallway and your statement, it's all good, I'm going to be alone, I don't need anybody, I'm good, I'm going to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying to my friend, I was like, I just screwed up the biggest opportunity in my life. And the rest is history. We were connected and been together ever since. But it was that feeling. Mm. It's a duality of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, but I want it.
Yes.
And it's just like, what's going on here? And yeah, I remember those relationships.
Yeah.
Why do you want to be with me? What do I have? Like, look at that beautiful, like, what, why? Stop. What is going on?
Don't make a mistake. I'm going to keep you from making this mistake, because
right.
I don't want to see you, get mad at me for what I'm about to do. So I want to.
Right. Because I'm not pretty when I get mad. And
yeah, like, no,
that's not
devious,
going to end well.
Yeah, I'm very devious. It's like, no, you don't understand. Yeah. I'm unlovable. I'm going to ruin your life. You don't want no parts of this. Even now, like, I've been alone so long. The last girl that I was with, great woman, man. We got the chance to know each other on a different level now. For a man who's always been betrayed and sabotaged mostly everything I've ever done, especially when it comes down to relationships. I can admit that now, right? It's like it's like now I have this woman, and she's just like, she just wants to be a part of who I am, and so. Unfortunately, I sabotaged it, but she'll never understand the reason why. And I tell people, this relationship that I have with my father, I talk to him all the time. I hear him just plain as I talk to you, right? My obedience is to that. And it's taught me so much, but it came with a price as well. And I had to sit back and I had to talk to him again, because, he told me one time, when I was with this woman and we were going, and I'm feeling something other than pain. Now, this is after my son, my mother, my grandmothers, and things like that. And here I am. She just wants to be a part. We get into the same work, the nonprofit field. And, I'm helping her develop her company and things like that. So we got that going on. We have that commonality. And she just wanted to be with me, right? And I wanted to be with her too. And God says, no, you have to let her go. I says, God, we're going to do this again. He goes, no, I need you to let her go. I go, but I don't want to. He goes, no, I need you to let her go. And I went, are you going to explain this to me? Like, this is the first time in a long time I actually want this. He goes, trust me, it's going to work out in the end, but I need you to let her go. And it wasn't until, I was going, okay, I can't question that. I have to be obedient to this path. I have to be obedient to what I'm being told to do. And as a man, being obedient to anything is way out of, it's impossible, right? But my commitment to the process and understanding that whom I belong to and my relationship with God, I told her, I said, you're not going to like what I'm about to do. But I also have to understand that it's not about me, right? It's not about me. And sometimes I get told to do things and I really don't want to do it. So the first opportunity came around, I sabotaged it. I had to break up with her. And oh my God, it opened up a can of whip ass on me that I wasn't really expecting, right? I was like, because I thought, when we talked about it in the beginning, she says, we separate, we'll be adults about it. I go my way, go your way. Hopefully we can remain friends. And I went, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
It's just not going to happen. You do realize we've already been intimate with one another. Friendship is out of the question now. There's no going back. And so it wasn't personal. It wasn't personal when I did it, but it hurt me. But then I look at her, because I still see her from time to time, and I look at what it did. And God says, now do you see why I had you do that? You were the one holding her back. And I went, she'll never understand that. You know, like, she's not going to forgive me for this right here. And she never did. And I had to be okay with that. And ever since then, I just said to myself, like, I'm done trying.
Yeah.
If
you're trying, you're paddling up creek.
Right, you know, and it was like, you know, I was done. I threw my hands in there. I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I've hurt more people in my life than more people have ever hurt me.
Right.
I feel like crap. But then I understand the beauty behind it too. When I hurt them, they figured it out. They got stronger and went, you know what? Just because this dude didn't love me doesn't mean that the next person wanted. I knew that I wanted to be a part of that right there. I wanted to understand that mindset, but I was so used to running. I was so used to, you know, having my life dictated by unforeseen circumstances that no one ever knew that would happen to me.
Right.
And I went, well, looks like we are going to be alone for the rest of our life. Totally, like this, we can't figure this part out. And so even
Right.
now I look back at it and I just go, you know what? If I'm going to be alone, I'm going to be the best loner that I can possibly be.
Right.
But in this process, I'm going to bring as many people with me as possible because I want them to enjoy the success that I'm generating. And I don't want nothing in return, nothing
Right.
at all. I want to
Right.
give it to you because I had nothing. And now I'm building something. And now that's something, it turned into something else. And I'm going, I can't change what I've done. But what I can do is make sure that you, this other individual,
Do it. Right.
yeah, have a better chance at this life than what I had. And it
Right.
became a purpose-driven life, right? You know, and anybody
Right.
who lives a life of purpose, we love the reward of servitude.
Mhm.
That's our reward of it, right? You know,
Right.
we live in a life of servitude inside of this gift, inside of this purpose. And the reward that we get back is 10 times greater than anything I can ever imagine.
Any materialistic item, absolutely.
Right. Materialistic items, not so much. You know, I've lost cars, I've lost houses, I've lost all of these things. I know what it's like to be without. You know, I still live without in a bag, right? You know, and it's because I'm always prepared if someone says you have to go.
Right.
So I decided, I said, well, one of my main goals that I want, you know, and I'm still working on achieving that, is buying myself some land, building my own house, having a lake up there, plant some trees around there, right? Because my goal is, you know, I never got the chance to see my son grow up. I'm going to put ashes underneath the tree that I plant, my son's ashes, so I can watch him grow up. He will outlive me. It's no longer about me, but no one can take this away. You know, let him have a life, you know, beyond the life that he has by giving that and letting the life in that tree grow from there. It's a healthy tree. And it's a place that I want to be able to go to sit down by this tree and share these moments and asking my son, hey son, did you see the sunrise this morning? Even though it's a tree, that tree is now personal.
Like the book, The Giving Tree.
Right, The Giving Tree. Like that, I never even read that, and I was thinking about this. I was going, wow, that sounds a lot like this. I'm just going, you know, but in a different concept. There's something someone cannot take away from me. They took my son's life.
For everything.
Right,
It
you know,
provides everything.
It provides everything.
Oxygen for the atmosphere. It provides a nesting place for animals,
but
shelter
also
for others. You know?
But also, it gives me the opportunity to see my son grow up. I won't ever see the man that he is, but if I plant his ashes in the right way and it nurtures this tree, I can envision the man that he is by the strength of this tree, by watering it, by, you know what I'm saying, talking to it, and, you know, and all of these things. Yeah, you know, just being a father again, you know, and I miss that so much, and I can't have kids anymore. I miss being a father. So I figured to myself, I said, well, as crazy as this sounds, that's what I want to do. I want to get this land. I want to get about 6 to 8 acres of land. That's mine. Build a nice house on it. Plant these trees. Have this one tree where I can go visit on a day-to-day basis, when I decide to slow down and retire from what I'm doing and things like that. But even before then, to take that knowledge and go to this tree and watch it grow.
Share it. Watch
I
it mature.
can cherish that, right? Because when I'm gone, there's nothing else. At least this way, I can leave something behind that will always outlive me. That will be around for generations and generations to come, for more people to come and climb the tree. And they don't have to know where that tree started from. My son loves climbing trees. He just wants somebody to climb the tree. Get to a branch and jump out of the tree, and it's going to provide shade for someone. It's going to provide much needed oxygen. It's going to provide, if I do it right, it may provide fruit for someone else. Right? It's not about me anymore. It's never been about me. And I want to take that journey and that story, and I want to be able to leave footprints in the dirt that's deep enough to where when somebody follows me and they go, man, I wonder, what Tony went through in his life. And I said, well, I have a blank slate. I have this open field there's nothing out there. And I'm looking around me. I can see everybody else's paths and everything, but this is mine. There's nothing on it, not a footprint, not a daisy, not a blade of grass, right? It's just dirt until I get it wet. Then it becomes a muddy mess, right? That's our lives, right? And so I'm like, I'm going to walk this path, come hell or high water. And no matter if I fall down, the next steps that you see, you may see my hands in the dirt, but the next step that you see, you may see a knee print, but eventually you will see my feet again. Right. Follow that, because every time you see my hands down, it's the times where I had to surrender. It's times where I was humbled enough to be down on my knees and go, I need help. And when you see these little areas, when you see these multitude of footprints, that's when the people that I cared about the most and cared about me came and was like, hey, we're going to give you a hand up. And then when you see my footprints going again, when it's down to one again, just believe that they're off walking their journeys. It's not personal. Their path is different than mine. It's not personal. I wish them well. Thank you for the strength and the courage that you've given me and their encouragement to keep going forward. Thank you for that. I wish you well on your journey. It's not personal anymore, right? And I heard about them later on down the lines. They've got married, they've got kids and things like that. I'm going, thank you. And in that moment, I'm with them, even if I'm not there. And I have a sense of gratitude and humility and, being humble. And I take a deep breath and I go, okay, I'll see you again, but I have to finish this path. This is mine. And that's the way I view it now. It's not personal. I don't look at it as personal. I don't get angry when people leave me. I don't get angry when a person is doing what I've done for many years, sabotaging, right? I don't get angry at that. I think it's kind of interesting and funny in the same sense, because I go, I know what you're doing. I'm not going to stop you, because I realize that right now in this moment, your life is telling you
to do that.
You need to go this way.
Right.
And that way, I'm not included. Right. There's something better for you over there. Right. Go explore it. Explore it. It's not personal. I love you. Keep going. I'll see you. And I keep going on my path. And I keep learning these beautiful things. I keep meeting these beautiful people like yourself, and I listen to your stories, and it's just like, wow, the similarities across the board, and just coming from a woman's perspective and things like that it amazes.
It makes us be aware that we're more the same than we are different.
Yeah, there you go. And those differences is what needs to bring us together, because the stories that we share with one another, they add value, right? And I think that's what my commitment to this life is now, is to add value to someone else's life and to become a valuable person in this life, And outside of that, I don't really think too much outside of that, because that phrase right there keeps me engulfed in the nonprofit work. It keeps me engulfed in doing the podcast. It keeps me engulfed in wanting to meet people where they are and their trauma, and being a part of that. That for me is enough, right? Because for one, I have to always keep in mind that you didn't have to invite me. Right? You didn't have to invite me. So since you invited me, I'm going to be the best visitor I possibly can. Whatever you need, I'm here for you, right? I'm going to visit with you in your mess until you get to a point to where you're going, okay, I'm strong enough to be able to give this to someone else. And I can hug that individual and go explore this new world that you've discovered within yourself, right? And I'm thankful that you let me be a part of that. And so now, with the work that you do, if there's anybody out there, I mean, I love this conversation, and believe it or not, we just recorded the whole podcast, and that's normally how it goes, right? Hey, we've been recording the whole time, so there's no fanciness to it. It's just two people having a beautiful conversation, talking about these things, and being comfortable with each other to be open and vulnerable, and just being able to share and laugh. That's what it's all about. Your story makes a difference in someone else's life. It really does, right? And to have these conversations and things like that helps other people go, that's what it looks like. Like, yeah, it's not scripted whatsoever, is it? Like, no, it's beautiful right there. So, first off, I want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing and being a part of this and bringing a smile to my heart, because I'm listening to it. I'm going, wow, this is amazing, right? I'm always humble. I'm always humble. And moving forward in your life, tell people how they can get a hold of you. Where some of the places that they can find you.
Absolutely. We had an amazing conversation, and this is what life is about. Filling each other's needs, reminding us that we're not alone, that we're not invincible, that we're not islands. We are, as I heard a video, we are permeable beings where we fill each other's gaps. We are as Mr. Brown says, we are the piece of the masterpiece. And we all come together. So absolutely. So you could grab your cell phone and you can find me at the bottom of the screen, am.pressplay@gmail. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and I have my own YouTube channel, Andrea Mason, your personal accountability coach. And I'd be more than happy, as a token of my affection and appreciation, to provide your listeners, yourself, before on playback and now, to join me for a complimentary gift afterwards. And I truly appreciate it. This is not about us. This is about service to others, and knowing that our cups are overfull with abundance. And that, my good friend Nelson Beltedrar tells me all the time, his life he had almost a timestamp on his life, and he decided that, what, it's not time. I have more to do. I have a mission to fulfill. And each day he reminds me, as I've connected with you, that the most amazing word in the vocabulary is impossible. Because in order to make things possible, you must be possible. And I definitely see that with you, Tony. Your story, your empathy, your passion, your humbleness really shows and emulates who you truly are. And I'm honored and privileged for this connection. It's not many times that you see a reflection of you in another person's eyes. It's not often where you're like, wow.
Yeah, it's
somebody knows what I've been through.
Yeah, exactly. And it's I'm humble. I'm truly in a state of humbleness and humility and gratitude. And because again, it's very seldom that you can see your story in someone else's life, right? And being able to relate to that on a level to where you never thought that you could, right?
Right.
And
right.
It's like for my audiences, for the people in my audiences as they grow and things like that, and having these conversations, showing them that it's okay, like it's not personal. You're going through something that's not personal, but what you do with that moment, that's personal.
Right.
Because it's you and your own decisions, your own story that you need to tell, and tell it. You are the author. Yes, your story's already been written out a long time ago, right? Your path has already been written out. Catch up with the author. Find out what the author is doing.
Have you been listening to my videos? Because that's what I say in the beginning. When you are younger, your story is told to you. But at one point in life, you must take the pen in your own hand.
Yeah, you have to become the author of that, and that's a beautiful part when people go, well, I don't know what to do. I would go, I don't know. Here's a pen.
Yeah.
Would you like some paper?
Yes,
write it
absolutely.
out. Do you know where you've been? Yes, we've already got the pass down.
Right.
Let's fill in the meat of it. We got the storyline and everything. The ending is not quite there, so we don't have to work on that just yet.
Right.
Why don't we work on this right here? And then when the ending comes, we could put that on the back of the book. They end.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We're going to fill in the pages. You want it double-sided? You want it one-sided? You want it columns? Today, let's do it, right? Let's work this thing out. You are the author. You are the creator of your life, right? Well, you're the dictator of your life.
Yes.
The creator says, no, you don't understand. I did this on purpose. I'm like, no, you couldn't have done this. You made a mistake. You couldn't have not done this on purpose. Did you not see what this did to me?
What just happened? Yeah.
What just happened? I'm like, oh no.
You're supposed to love me. What? This is not love. What kind of love is this? Tough love?
He's a
You're
jokester.
challenging me.
Yeah, he's a jokester. And you write the challenges, right? Because he's constantly, every time I go, did you not see that? He goes, yeah, that was funny. I'm like, no, you don't understand. That was not funny.
Yeah.
I thought we talked about this, right?
Right.
This is not funny whatsoever. He goes, no, you got to see it from my point of view. I was like, I'm struggling to do that. Did you not
And
know?
we're not supposed to sometimes. Because I'll be like, really? You're giving me this. And then I learned.
I argue.
He gives you what you can handle. He never gives you anything you can't handle. Yeah. And if at the point you feel you can't handle, he's got the rest.
Yeah, I keep thinking that too, but I'm thinking that sometimes he goes to sleep and forget that I'm still here.
He's got a lot of people to take care of.
Yeah, he got a lot. I get that.
While he's going to sleep, he's working on me.
He's taking naps. Every time I'm like, hey, wake up here. I can hear you snoring, right? Talk. Oh. I'm like, no. You slept, and this is what happened.
Sleeping?
Like, come on, man. Like, you wasn't supposed to close your eyes. We was real close over here, and then boom.
Yeah.
No.
And then he's just like, you did that yourself.
Yeah, I tell him you got to take some NoDoz. You got to take some caffeine pills. I don't care how many cups of coffee that we here until we figure this out, right? And then he's like, I'm just tired. I'm like, no, you're not tired. I know you're not tired. Don't be giving me this excuse. And so we go back and forth and things like that. And he goes, Tony, you better. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen, And so
that's going to happen. Why are we even having this conversation?
Yeah, you're right. He knows I'm a rebel. He knows I'm hard-headed, right? Yeah. And every time he goes, I need you to do this. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
You're not a Taurus, are you?
No, I'm a Leo.
Okay.
Okay.
You're very lovable.
Yeah, that's what they keep saying, right? I'm very stubborn. I'm a lovable, stubborn individual. Right? I am very unique. I am very unique.
You defy the definition of a Leo. We got you. You they broke the mold with you. I get it.
No, they just forgot to put the rest of it in there. They never broke the mold. They just forgot to put the rest. I think
they're like, it's like IKEA. Well, I have a whole bunch of extra parts here. They need to be in there.
That's why I keep saying I'm going, okay, I got the nuts and bolts over here and all the other pieces over here. And then I put it together. I'm going, why do I still have more nuts and bolts than I started with? Like, what's holding this thing together? Like, you forgot to put the nuts and bolts in, man.
Right.
I'm still trying to, look, I done threw the nuts and bolts. I'm still trying to find them. I really am.
You're a vehicle that's shaking on shocks and struts. You're like, come on, guys, we need to tighten this up. And I'm sure that pile right there is what we need to use.
Well, what I started doing, I went, okay, since you're not going to put the nuts and bolts in there, I guess this is going to be good enough, right? Until I'm driving around, I got 100,000 miles on the car and the wheel comes off and hits somebody, then I'm like,
Maybe I should have got those.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, can you bring the wheel back? I mean, sorry, sorry the wheel hit you, but
Oh, that's mine, by the way. Oh yeah, that wheel going down that highway, that's mine.
yeah, let me
Yeah.
get that back, you know, so I can put it
Yeah.
back on the car.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're good. It's that old saying, we're gonna ride this thing till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Well, how many wheels gotta fall off?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
I'm on spares right now. I got the other wheels. I just got to get some different lug nuts, and maybe we can put it back on there. But we still have to figure out what to do with these nuts and bolts that I have over here.
Yeah,
You know,
this truck is not going to ride on donuts.
No,
we need tires.
you know what I started doing? I realized that those nuts and bolts didn't really matter, so I started throwing them out the window at other people. Here's one. Tighten up that mirror over there. You know.
Let me distract you. Here you go. Here, have some of mine.
Yeah, here you go. I didn't need that anyway. You know. So that's my run. That's
but
my,
that analogy is so precise, because it's like, well, if I'm not going to use it, you use it, and meanwhile, it's like they're winning, and I'm like, wait, I gave that to you.
Yeah.
But you know what? Go ahead. Just finish the race. I'll be back here. I'm back here. Don't worry about it. I'll get to the end eventually.
Yeah. Well, most people think there's a race to the finish line, right? You know what I'm saying? It's no race to the finish line. And I'd rather lift the person up to get you where you need to be. Whether if you get there a lot faster than me, I don't care.
Right.
Like, it's okay.
It's not about
it. A lot faster.
You know,
mine just took a little bit longer because mine was worth the time that it took to learn. I get where you're going. You know what I'm saying? You've already got this skill, and it's going to take you places. So yeah, let's build the platform. Go. They go. And most of the times, and I tell people, don't gloat.
Yeah.
Don't gloat. And because I have people that I've known for that I knew for a very long time, and they would go, Tony, see, I got there a lot faster than you. And I go, don't gloat.
Just wait. Yeah, you're just sitting there waiting, like you shouldn't have done that.
Well, they always think to themselves, oh yeah, you know, I'm more successful, you know, and I got here faster than Tony got here. And I tell people, you know, for me, it's not a race. This is a marathon.
You got to trust the process. Yeah.
If I decide to fall down and get tired and get back up, trust me, I'm gonna get back up. I just need a minute to breathe. So if you get to the finish line before me, that's fine.
Good.
You know, enjoy that trophy. Enjoy that moment that you have with it, but don't gloat. Right. Because I'm gonna tell you,
dreams don't have deadlines.
Yeah, they don't have deadlines. But what a lot of people, and I know you've probably seen this as well, a lot of people that rushes to the success, they're running to it, and they're proud because they're bypassing this person, they're bypassing that person. I go, I'm gonna tell you something. You forgot some steps. Yep. The only reason, and it's not putting people down, but I always have to tell them the only reason why you got there because you took shortcuts.
Exactly.
I'm gonna tell you something about that. Eventually, you're going to have to go back and fill in those shortcuts. Right. Because you didn't learn everything that it was trying
that you needed to learn.
Yeah, you don't have all the tools. Like you're enjoying the wealth. You're enjoying the fancy cars, the fancy house. You're enjoying all of this, going out and popping bottles till 3, 4 in the morning, you know, with your friends and things like that. Yeah. Okay, by all means, go right ahead. Enjoy it. You earned it. Right. But be careful. Just be careful, because without the right mentorship and without the right people in your life, you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to fill in those gaps. And it's not going to be fun, because it's going to be like you're easy come, easy go, right? You know, you don't want to you don't want to keep running and being the first one at the finish line when the race is not even done. You cut through the forest, you done went down the streets, you done took a cab and rode a bike and everything to get to where you are. Okay, you know, let's
not to mention sometimes some people knock over people getting there. And they don't lift them up on the way. They forget that part of the story.
Well, exactly. And I tell people, you know, people love seeing you do better as long as you come back. Right. People in your surroundings and everything, they love to see you do good, because, you know, they're like, oh man, doing really good, right? You know what I'm saying? But you get too far. No. You got to come back here. You know what I'm saying? Because of the simple fact of, if you accomplish this, then I have no excuse. Right. You know, I have no excuse to be lazy. I have no excuse to pursue my dreams. I have no excuse to not educate myself and pursue who I truly am if
Right.
you do this. So instead of watching you do this, oh, by the way, yeah, I love your boat, right? And in one hand, they got a row. And in the other hand, they got a drill, right?
Right.
As they're
Exactly.
rowing, they're the ones putting the holes in your boat. So now you're trying to figure out why your boat is sinking, right? Like you got all these holes. Then you go back there and you figure out what's going on. And you're like, you drilled holes in my boat, but we still got a whole ocean that we have to go across. Why are you drilling holes in the boat? Like we're in the middle of nowhere. There's sharks out here doing shark stuff, right? Like I'm not trying to be barbecue for nobody. At least a shark, right? I'm not trying to be out there with them. But it goes back to another saying, you know, when I go back and I ask God, why are you taking me across this right here? And God says, well, your enemies don't know how to swim. Then you gave me a boat that was in good condition. He goes, yeah, but you picked up the wrong strangers. And I go, well, I thought you was in control of all of that. He goes, yeah, I am. And you forgot to listen to the most important lesson. Not everybody wants to see you succeed. So they will sabotage you to ensure to either, one, slow you down to a point to where they can come up and say, hey, remember what we told you this right here? Like, yeah, maybe you may not do that. Or they're going to sink you and you're going to find yourself drowning in all of this mess out here. And I go, well, you know, I don't swim and everything. So I'm definitely going to drop down and I'm going, you know, like I'm very dense. So you put me in the water, I can walk out in the middle of a pool and stand at the bottom and look up at the top without floating. Right. So I'm very negative buoyant. And so I said, well, I'm out here in the middle of this ocean. I've got a long ways to go. My boat is sinking. I think I need to learn some scuba diving skills, right? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what it's all about. But and you know, we can keep going on and on. So we're going to put the links down below, and I want everybody, look, go to Andrea's page. Her links will be down below. And, you know, if you love this conversation, you love what she brought to the table, by all means, and I'm encouraging this as well, you know, go and connect with her on her YouTube channel. Check that out as well, you know, connect with her on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all of these things, and it'll be down there. And just go be a part of being in the moment with Andrea, man. It was a blast talking to her. If you have any encouraging words for anybody out there right now, what would you tell them?
Absolutely. Through the toughest times, and Tony, you can vouch for this, miracles are made. Follow your heart and not the herd. Through life's trials and tribulations, as you can see, triumphs are won. And when you learn how to press play, plan life according to you, success and happiness are waiting with open arms. You've got this. You matter. Your mission and message needs to be heard. The world is waiting. Thank you.
Wow, that is amazing. And for everyone who's tuning in and watching this episode of Members of Us, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and for your continued support. And hopefully you guys got something to value out of this. And speaking with Andrea, hopefully that, you know, she said something that, and you go and visit with her and you just show her the support as well. You know, we're all out here and we're having a human experience in this world. And sometimes it's good to have other humans that can relate to your experience. So until the next time, I want you guys to stay strong, support each other, show love, and be well. And until next time, thank you for participating in another episode of Members of Us. And we'll see you again.